Hi students, this is A. Mandari Kumar Rajesh. In this video, we are going to discuss a topic called transverse section of mature anther. Transverse section of mature anther shows the anther cavity which is surrounded by anther walls like tapetum, middle layer, endothelium and epidermis. So this cavity is called this anther cavity which is surrounded by tapetum, that is the anther wall, tapetum, middle layer, endothelium and epidermis. So in the region தான் நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்றோம் anther cavity ன்னு சொல்றோம். அந்த anther cavity கவர் பண்ணி இருக்குறத என்ன சொல்றோம்? It is surrounded by anther wall. சரிங்களா? Then it is a bilobed anther. It is a bilobed anther. So it is the first lobe and this is the second lobe. So this anther is a bilobed anther and that anther is said to be dithecous. The anther is said to be dithecous. So it contains two theca. Theca means a bag-like structure. So இந்த anther வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா ரெண்டு லோப் இருக்கு. இது ஒரு லோப், இது ஒரு லோப். சரிங்களா? அதனால நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம்? dithecous anther னு சொல்றோம். தீக்கானாலே என்னது? ஒரு bag-like structure அப்படின்ட்டு அர்த்தம். Then this dithecous anther contains 4 sporangia. One sporangia, 1, 2, 3, 4. So a dithecous anther contains 4 sporangia. So a typical anther consists of 4 sporangia and an anther is said to be tetrasporangiate. The anther is said to be tetrasporangiate. ஒரு ஆந்தர்ல ரெண்டு லோப் இருந்ததுன்னா அந்த ஆந்தர் நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்லுவோம்? dithecous னு சொல்லுவோம். that anther is said to be dithecous. அப்ப அந்த ரெண்டு தீக்கா இருக்கிறதுனால அதுல எத்தனை ஸ்பொராஞ்சியா இருக்கும்? 4 ஸ்பொராஞ்சியா இருக்கும். 1 2 3 4. So that sporangia is said to be tetrasporangiate. That anther is said to be tetrasporangiate. In some cases the anther contains only one lobe. ஒரே ஒரு லோப் தான் இருக்கும். So that anther is said to be monothecous. That anther is said to be monothecous. So it contains only 2 sporangia. That anther contains only 2 sporangia. ரெண்டு sporangia மட்டும்தான் இருக்கும். So that anther consists of 2 sporangia and it is said to be bisporangiate. Bisporangiate. சில ஆந்தர்ல ஒரே ஒரு லோப் இருக்கும். அந்த ஆந்தரை நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்லுவோம்? மோனோதீக்கஸ்னு சொல்லுவோம். சரிங்களா? நம்ம மோனோதீக்கஸ்ங்கும் போது இட் கண்டெய்ன்ஸ் 2 ஸ்பொராஞ்சியா, ரெண்டு ஸ்பொராஞ்சியா இருக்கும். So that anther is said to be bisporangiate. இன்னும் சில கேசஸ்ல ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் a parasitic plant called Arcetobium. It is a parasitic plant. It contains one lobe. So the anther is said to be monothecous, but it contains only one sporangia. This Arcetobium contains only one sporangium. So the anther is said to be monosporangiate. சரிங்களா? இந்த ஆர்த்தோசோபியம் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு parasitic plant, ஒட்டுண்ணி. சரிங்களா? இதுல ஒரே ஒரு ஆந்தர் லோப் இருக்கு. சரி, ஒரு லோப் இருக்கு. எஸ், ஆந்தர் லோப் இருக்கு. ஆனா ரெண்டு ஸ்பொராஞ்சியாக்கு பதிலா ஒரே ஒரு ஸ்பொராஞ்சியா இருக்கு. சரிங்களா? ஒரே ஒரு ஸ்பொராஞ்சியா இருக்கு. So that anther is said to be monosporangiate. So it is an important one word. Arcetobium is a parasitic plant which contains only one sporangia. So it is said to be monosporangiate. Then this two lobe is connected by a tissue called connective tissue. இந்த ரெண்டு லோபையும் கனெக்ட் பண்ற டிஷ்யூ பேர் என்னது? கனெக்டிவ் டிஷ்யூ. They are sterile in nature. This connective tissue is sterile in nature. So a fertile part of a stamen is called as anther. So anther தான் என்ன அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா fertile part of a stamen. So it is a connective tissue which connects the two lobe and they are sterile in nature. சரிங்களா? Then this anther cavity is surrounded by the anther walls. They are epidermis, endothelium, middle layer, finally tapetum. So a mature anther contains anther walls such as epidermis, endothelium, middle layer, tapetum. So I am going to tell about the anther wall one by one. Let me tell about the outermost layer of the anther called epidermis. So this layer is called this epidermis and it is the outermost layer of the anther wall. So it is the outermost layer of the anther. It consists of single layer of cells and compactly arranged. So it consists of single layer of cells and they are compactly arranged without intercellular space. Without any intercellular space. Epidermis எப்படி arranged இருக்குன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா with single layer. ஒரு layer தான் இருக்கும். And they are compactly நெருக்கமா என்ன இருக்கும் arranged இருக்கும் without any intercellular spaces. Then this epidermis layer exists from very early stage and it is not derived from the primary parietal layer. The epidermis வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா early stageல இருந்தே இருக்கும். சரிங்களா? anther young antherல இருந்தே epidermis இருக்கும். சரிங்களா? and it is not derived from primary parietal layer. இந்த பாயிண்ட நல்லா ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. Please remember this point. It is exists from very early stage. Epidermis or epidermis is exists from very early stage and it is not derived from primary parietal layer. The third point, cells of the epidermis undergo anticlinal division and so the epidermis increases in surface area. Why it has to increase its surface area? Why it has to undergo anticlinal division? Because the internal tissues get enlarges rapidly. The internal tissues enlarge rapidly. That is why it has to increase its surface area. Otherwise, the anther will burst out. வெடிச்சிரும். சரிங்களா? அதனால இந்த epidermis என்ன ஆகுது? Anticlinal division குள்ள என்ன ஆகுது? enter ஆகுது and it increases surface area because the internal tissues get enlarges rapidly. அது குயிக்கா என்ன ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு? enlarge ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு. சரிங்களா? அதனால surface area increase பண்றதுக்காக anticlinal division பண்ணுது. Then in matured anther the cells of the epidermis are greatly stretched and flattened. So due to enlargement in the internal tissues, the epidermis cells get flattened, stretched. Okay, so in matured anther, the cells of the epidermis are greatly stretched and flattened. The function of epidermis is protective in function and it can prevent the loss of moisture in the anther. It can prevent loss of moisture in the anther and it is also helpful in gaseous exchange. It is also helpful in gaseous exchange and the epidermis is a thin layer and it is living. Epidermis is a thin layer and it is living. Okay, so that's all about the epidermis layer. Next, I am going to tell about the layer called endothelium. Endothelium is the second layer which is inner to epidermis. So this layer is called as endothelium which is inner to epidermis. In the layer தான் நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம்? endothelium னு சொல்றோம். Inner to epidermis there is a single layer of radially elongated cells. Single layer of radially elongated cells. This layer is otherwise called as fibrous layer or fibrous. This layer contains fibrous thickening. So the fibrous thickenings are due to the presence of alpha cellulose. The fibrous thickenings எப்படி வந்தது அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா due to the presence of alpha cellulose, lignin and pectin. So this fibrous layer contains alpha cellulose, lignin and pectin. Then this endothelium layer is thick due to the presence of alpha cellulose. The endothelium layer வந்து எப்படி இருக்கு thick-ஆ இருக்கு due to the presence of alpha cellulose, and this layer is a dead layer due to the deposition of lignin and pectin. While in the case of epidermis, it is a thin and living layer. சரிங்களா, epidermis வந்து எப்படி பார்த்தோம், living னு பார்த்தோம், thin னு பார்த்தோம். In the case of endothelium, it is thick due to the presence of alpha cellulose, and they are dead due to the presence of lignin and pectin. சரிங்களா, then the cells of the endothelium along the line of divisions of the anther devoid of fibrous bands. These cells are called as stomium. So in the region தான் நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம், stomium சொல்றோம். This region is called as stomium, which is devoid of fibrous thickening, and this region only thin. In the endothelium layer, the only thin region is called stomium because it is devoid of the fibrous thickening. இப்போ இந்த ரீஜனை தான் நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம், thin region சொல்றோம். அதுல என்ன இருக்காது, fibrous thickening இருக்காது, and it is a fragile region, through this region only dehiscence of anthers takes place. So இந்த region எப்படி இருக்கு, fragile ஆ இருக்கு, உடைஞ்சிரும், டக்குன்னு ஆயிடும், உடைஞ்சிரும். So இப்படி இருக்கிறதுனால தான் இந்த anther வந்து என்ன ஆகுது, வெளியே வருது. Dehiscence of anther takes place through stomium. சரிங்களா, then this endothelium layer is derived from primary parietal layer. இந்த endothelium layer வந்து எதில இருந்து derive ஆயிருக்கு, primary parietal layerல இருந்து derive ஆயிருக்கு. Endothelium is absent in anthers whose dehiscence is through apical pores. In some anther, endothelium is absent. அப்ப அங்க எப்படி dehiscence of anther நடக்கும், it takes place through apical pores. Example, cassia and solanum. In some cases, fibrous bands are absent. Example, annona, musa and hypomia. So in mature anther, that anther is hygroscopic in nature. The mature anther is a hygroscopic in nature. It can absorb moisture. So அது moisture absorb பண்ணும்போது என்ன ஆகும், இந்த endothelium layer get more weight. So due to the addition of water, this fragile region get burst. The fragile region என்ன ஆகுது, burst ஆகுது. It is breakdown due to more accumulation of water. So through that pore only dehiscence of anther takes place. So endothelium layer is very, very important layer which is helpful in dehiscence of anther. So that's all about the layer endothelium. Let me tell about the middle layer. Middle layer is situated beneath the layer called endothelium. 3 to 4 layer of thin walled cells situated below the endothelium are called as middle layer. So இந்த ரெட் கலர்ல தெரியுதா, அந்த லேயர் தான் என்னது, endothelium. Endotheliumக்கு கீழ ஒரு green color layer தெரியும் பாருங்க, and it possesses 3 to 4 layer of cells, and that layer is called as middle layer. And here they have mentioned it is a thin walled cell. It contains thin walled cells. So the middle layer is thin layer because it contains parenchymatous cells. And they are living in nature. Middle layer வந்து எப்படி இருக்கும், living ஆ இருக்கும், thin ஆ இருக்கும், because அதுல என்ன இருக்கு, it contains parenchyma cells. It is made up of parenchyma cells. சரிங்களா, then they are generally ephemeral. Ephemeral means short-lived layer. The middle layer is a short-lived layer because the middle layer cells get crushed at the time of meiosis in the pollen mother cells. So எதுக்காக அது short lived இருக்கு middle layer அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, it is crushed during meiosis in the pollen mother cell. ஏன் அது crush ஆகுது அப்படினு பாத்தீங்கன்னா, it can store starch grain. So it can provide nourishment to growing microspore mother cell. அதனால எதை ஸ்டோர் பண்ண முடியும்? ஸ்டார்ச் கிரெயினை ஸ்டோர் பண்ண முடியும். அப்போ இது என்ன பண்ணுது? நியூட்ரியன்ட் யார் கொடுக்குறா? மைக்ரோஸ்போர் மதர் செல்ல கொடுக்குது. அண்ட் இட் டிஸ்இன்டிகிரேட். அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன ஆயிருது? அது அப்படி crush ஆயிருது. இட் கெட் disintegrate. That is why middle layer is called as ephemeral, short-lived சொல்றாங்க. Then the middle layer is derived from primary parietal layer. Let me tell about the final layer called tapetum. Tapetum is the innermost layer of the anther wall, which is present beneath the middle layer, and they are parietal in origin. It is the innermost layer of the anther wall. They are present below the middle layer, and they are derived from primary parietal layer. The cells of the tapetums are large, radially elongated, and it contains dense cytoplasm and prominent nucleus. Tapetums are usually multinucleus. They are multinucleated. It surrounds the sporogenous tissue. The tapetum surrounds the sporogenous tissue. Here I haven't drawn the tapetum layer. So tapetum layer can surrounds the sporogenous tissues. Tapetum is a nutritive layer for the developing microspore. Tapetum provides the nutrition for the developing microspore or pollen grains. Usually the tapetum is parietal in origin. Usually tapetum is parietal in origin, but in the case of Electra thomsoni, the tapetum is dual in origin. The tapetum is dual in origin. That means the tapetum is derived from parietal and it is derived from the connective tissue. A portion of tapetum is derived from connective tissue, so the tapetum is called as C tapetum. The tapetum is called as C tapetum. A portion of tapetum is derived from the connective tissue. Then another portion of tapetum is derived from parietal layer, so that tapetum is called as P tapetum. So this type of tapetum is called as dimorphic tapetum. This type of tapetum is called as dimorphic tapetum because this tapetum is derived from two types of layers. One portion is derived from the connective tissue, another portion is derived from the parietal layer. That is why the tapetum is called as dimorphic tapetum. So that's all about today's video. If you have any doubt, please clarify with me. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.